This is Fred Beck from Frederick Society. I'm joined by Liam Chivers over Zoom. Liam, it's nice to see you. How you been?
I'm good, mate. It looks like you got a bit of artwork behind you there compared to your student digs beforehand. You're going up
Well,
in the world.
I've moved into a new place now at Manchester. I've
Ah,
dropped out of uni. I got my own place in I won't say where it is in Manchester, but in Manchester, yeah. It's nice to be out of the student accommodation, certainly, yeah.
excellent. No, it's interesting style you've got there on the wall.
No, I didn't pick this painting. I didn't pick it. No, the wall. I need to get like some better background, but we're still setting everything
No,
up.
it's good. It's good. It's good. Good to
Hmm.
see you anyway.
What have you been up to though, Liam? What about you?
Been up to, yeah, boxing. Bit of family stuff the weekend. My daughters are keeping me busy with different athletics and swim championships and theatre shows. They're all getting to that age where they've got their own directions now and achievements to look after as a dad. I've been a bit of a taxi dad these last few weekends, but looking forward to getting back to a boxing event. And we've got a few coming up.
Do you have any part in the Karate Clash at all?
No, not at all. Not
Not at
whatsoever.
all.
No.
Okay.
They seem to work on the periphery a little bit, don't they? They seem to be um, their own entity. And yeah, I don't have much insight into all that drama that happened this week over there. So no.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd what's going on like Froggy Fresh. And what I find quite strange about it is that there's no post-fight interviews allowed with any media for the Karate Clash. I was
I
gonna
saw you
fly
tweet
over.
that.
Yeah, I was gonna fly over. It's a shame. So I like to cover these events, and it's good to kind of get your face out there, but you
Can you
can't
not?
do post interviews. There's no point whatsoever.
Can
I
you?
asked for no pass or anything, but they say
You
it's
say
not
no
allowed.
post fight? You mean during the event at all? Up to the start of
Wait,
the
you
bell,
can't
first
do any
bell.
fight night interviews.
Oof, oof. Yeah,
That's like losing 80% of your views of the whole
right.
week.
Yeah, okay. Well, they'd have to give you really good access in fight week, otherwise, wouldn't they? And yeah, that's risky if you've not tried before and you don't know them well.
Yeah, certainly. It's probably better. It's a shame 'cause it's a decent card. You've got some few big names on there, but yeah, I'll just leave that one.
Could
But
you
you obviously,
stream react to them and just maybe do a live watch along or just get content out trying to talk to people who are watching it or who are there? Maybe you could do Zooms with, people who are in attendance or something like that. I don't know.
yeah, I think I might do a live watch one for that because the main event's quite. Alex Cyber's got a big pool, and so's iDubbbz. Myths on there. The guy called Dad's on there. Um,
Mm.
Justin Minks, I think, is on there. So there's a few decent fighters that, well, they're quite well known. So yeah, I think I think they actually did mention the email, send me an online version or online link to watch. Should be
Yeah.
quite good. So I've checked that out. But the Kingpin in Misfits, the Misfits event that's happening a day before the Kingpin. Do you have any part in that whatsoever, or are you fully?
No, not the April one. Just purely Kingpin on that weekend.
Okay. We'll start with Jay Swingler, one of the fighters that you look
Okay.
after.
Yeah.
What's his injury situation at the moment?
Jay. Yeah. So yeah, Jay's not one of these to make excuses. He's tough as nails. What will be with him in life. He puts his all into it, and yeah, to the point where he didn't even tell his coach or I until immediately after the fight that the reason he was struggling in training the week before is because he had COVID. And he also a while ago had an ACL tear, which was aggravated a little bit, and then during the fight as well. So he's taken the time. That's why he pulled out the tournament. He wouldn't necessarily want me saying or making excuses. No excuses. He said himself he had some physical, problems, and that was it. So for him, it's a good opportunity to recoup, get better, get this injury sorted properly, and at the same time, he can put full attention into his current project, which is the Childish Energy launch, which you obviously went down to in London and went to the pop-up there. He's really that's really flown, and he wants to put a bit of time into that. And in this time, these few weeks since doing the boxing, he's quite enjoyed the time off the intense camp, and he and Ramel have got together and they've got some really great content ideas to get YouTube cracking again, build it back up, which is ultimately where then you promote your projects, isn't it? Your boxing and things in future. So yeah, I'm hoping Jay, boxing wise, he loves the sport, he wants to get back, and he's absolutely devastated that the timing of this meant that he can't do the tournament because he's seeing the hype of it and the level of these guys. These are the guys he wants to be in with. But it makes sense that he takes this time out to then be in a more competitive situation come nearer the end of the year. I'd love to think end of the summer he'll be ready to get back in again.
Okay, just on the Childish Energy, that's available on the website. When will that be released in stores?
Well, there's various different that Jay and Ramel will drop the bombs on where it's going to be and when as they can. But there's some really big distribution planned for
Okay.
that.
Oh, that's coming very, very soon then, I suppose.
Yeah, but there's no timeline. They'll when it's ready, it's ready. But yeah, obviously it's available online at the moment.
That's right. You're very good at answering questions, Liam, there. No comment. No comment is what you're going to say.
You always get one or two things out of me in these interviews. You've got me in trouble in the last few, haven't you? I think the Mayweathers weren't happy a couple of times, and
the Mayweathers are never happy. Even if
that's
you
true.
get $1 million check, they're still going to be happy. So there's nothing you can do to please the Mayweathers. Obviously Jeremy doing very, very well. So the Kingpin tournament, you got Gibb. I guess he's kind of everyone's favorite to win the tournament. Is that adding more pressure on him, or is he just taking it in stride?
I think it's got to, but Gibbs one of these. He's so steely, confident, and he's very good at this whole focus. I mean, if you think about it, he went into that whole year with McBroom last year, up against it as the underdog. All the problems that were going on with the medicals here and there, and the social gloves issues, and wanting to be associated with it, and all the hate edit up towards McBroom. There was a lot of pressure of him going over there several times that year, back and forward for medicals and press conferences and the build-ups. But throughout the whole thing, he was absolutely unflappable. And therefore that's put him in good stead for the way to handle any fight going forward. He's just, some guys have got the mental fortitude, some not so much, and Gibb is definitely one of those who does. So this won't phase him. It would have been nice to have had a fight since the McBroom fight, for sure. Obviously, we talked about the Mayweather fight falling through. That should have happened and would have happened if timing hadn't got a bit squeezed, or he could have fought on the Tommy Fury Jake Saudi card, as you know. But that didn't happen. So Gibb took a bit of time for himself, recoup, because it was a big year with McBroom, and now he's full on and absolutely 100% focused on the tournament. I mean, you'll probably ask me about McBroom and what I think about that matchup. I think, in what other boxing world would somebody who's beaten somebody that such a devastating fashion suddenly have a rematch as their very next fight for both those guys? It is crazy, isn't it, that they're going to fight again? McBroom does not deserve a rematch and should not be in the ring with Gibb, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of his very next fight. So to be given that opportunity is huge for him. I would have loved McBroom. We really wanted him in the tournament. It's a great narrative to fight Gibb at some stage. I think Austin himself, you could see his face dropped a little bit when Gibb's name came out of the hat. He's like, at least give me someone else first I can build up to. And me personally, Gibb wouldn't care, but I personally would have loved that too. I'd have loved McBroom to fight someone else, perform well, potentially come up against Gibb, because he needs to prove something. But yeah, he's been giving it on a plate. There's the big man Gibb, first round rather than the final or the semi-final or wherever people may have thought it would have been, which in itself does put a little pressure, obviously, on Gibb. McBroom almost has nothing to lose because he's coming from a very low place, where Gibb put him from. So yeah, it's a bit unfortunate, but what a fight, and what a main event to carry that first round of the tournament.
I was interviewing Nick LMAO earlier this morning. He asked about the tournament. He asked me a question saying, "What if it's a draw in the tournament? Not a win, not a loss, but a draw. What happens then?"
I've had that discussion. Yeah, I do know the answer, but they're going to announce this. Yeah, so no, you'll find out.
Okay. And then what if someone gets brutally knocked out or hurt, quite badly hurt, meaning they can't continue or fight the next? Like, say Gibb knocks McBroom out like he did last time. You don't want to be
doctors say you can't fight in that amount of time.
Again in 3 months. Yeah.
If you have injuries, there will be. Again, I don't want to disclose too many things, but there will be reserves. They have to have it that come in. A reserve can't win the tournament though. So if someone comes in, say, I don't know, there's various scenarios. It doesn't matter if they come in as a winner, replacing a winner, or a loser. They can't go forward as the winner of that bout. And you can't, like, for example, you couldn't have someone go all the way through to the final, go the way through, and then somebody who's made the final can't make the final because they're injured for whatever reason. The reserve can't take their place and then win the tournament. They can't. The person who lost would go through, or they would fight a loser from a different bout. So there would need to be a reserve. But as we said, it could be really easy for someone who just steps in as a reserve in the final and then wins the whole thing. That's ridiculous, right? If they're not part of the original 8, they cannot win the tournament because they've got to win 3 fights. Simple as that.
Okay, that's fair enough. For reserves, they haven't even announced Winston Nunes' opponent yet. So who on
No.
earth they got for
They're
reserve?
working really hard. I mean, there's so many names they had as reserves, and then it got whittled down a little bit. Obviously, Jay didn't help with the last minute thing. Temper, people may have thought no was probably going to be involved initially, but then obviously he got knocked out against JJ. So they've had to fill in different people a couple of times already. They're still talking and deciding on the 8th. I think they may have signed them by now. Because they want it to be someone with good clout but equally they've got to have, you've seen the level of these guys. You can't just put in someone who's fodder in there, and it wouldn't be fair on the whole card if Winderson's got an easy first round, right? So it isn't that easy.
So Temper could have been in the tournament with
Yeah.
Jarvis. So he could have fought Jarvis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's a bit awkward in your friend
Well,
group.
Gib could have fought Jay. It
I
could have
know,
been.
but Gib and Jay on like I don't think they're really, really close. Like
Oh
Temper.
no, absolutely not. No, but
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, no, exactly. That's the problem when it doesn't matter if you're friends or not. If you want to be in the tournament, and I mean, Elle Brooke and her sister are in it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they can only meet in the final if they both.
Yeah, that got lucky the way they
won.
did the pots. Yeah.
Okay, that's quite interesting. Yeah, I guess you are right there. Bell and her sisters analogy. That's maybe a little step too far of blood and blood. Deji, let's move on to one of the other guys. You got a lot of
Yeah.
people to talk about. Deji, I think KSI kind of hinted that the Swarmers fight will be announced very, very soon. What's going on with that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, JJ, we have to consider the Misfits, and JJ, is a big part of that when Deji's his brother. But equally, we have to be fair to Deji and make sure the best deal, is there for him for his, series of next fights over a period of time, which promotion can support that best. So it's not a case of it's always just been Swarms. Swarms was never a major interest initially to Deji. There's other names, having fought Mayweather, Swarms isn't like the next name on the list, is he? However, as part of a narrative and a series of potential fights over time, it's definitely a strong possibility. But we haven't signed anything yet, and we're nearly there. I would have liked to have been able to say something, but obviously it's not. Again, Deji's next fight won't be for me to announce; it'll be for the promoter and Deji to co-do it at the same time. So we're not quite there yet, but he has had several options, and we've been working through what's best for him, and we're nearly there.
So Deji and Swarms is not signed yet.
No.
That's a good tweet. Thank you. I'll tweet that out in a minute. Got it.
Yet.
In big capitals with a red exclamation marks at the front at Liam Chivers. Apart from Swarmers, what other opponents do Deji had lined up?
Again, not lined up, but nothing's lined up until it's signed in this. Huh?
Let's do some digging here. Who else is?
Well, I gave you all the Gibbs scenario, but not until after it all fallen through, right? So it's hard when you're still in discussions to say, "Oh, we could be signing with this guy on this promotion or whatnot." I think most of the talk of Deji has been with other influencers for this next one. It's not a case of suddenly we're going to pull a Pacquiao or another ex-pro superstar fighter out the bag like we did with Mayweather. You'd have probably heard whispers if we were. So, the names that have been on social media, the videos, people you've interviewed, they've all been considerations and remain considerations. But it comes down to timing, locations, promotion, and obviously the contractual terms.
Okay, that's quite interesting then. I remember Deji after his last fight, he was saying that he wanted to stay at the kind of, he didn't want to drop down almost. Down. I don't think Storm's dropping down. Obviously, Storm's quite big in the scene. You got the good storyline of KSI there. But is it a shame that Deji's not got a kind of superstar fight? No disrespect to Storms at all, but kind of not the Floyd-led Mayweather fight, but a fight kind of almost similar to that at the top level.
I mean, there's only one way to go, isn't there, when you have fought the GOAT? But yeah, it is a shame. But these fights aren't there every week. They don't, there's not a roster full of top, Hollywood actors and A-list celebrities and top musicians out there already training and ready to fill in a card over a couple of months notice, are there? These are things which can happen, but they materialize very slowly. And it's all purely down to timing, isn't it, really, with that? So it's not a case of, Deji wants to fight Justin Bieber or Deji wants to fight Liam Payne. Liam Payne said he wants to fight, but at the moment he's not training, so he's not an option.
Did you ever reach out to Justin Bieber about a fight with Deji?
No, not Bieber, no.
You never sent him an email or a contract or anything?
No. I mean, now did I see a tweet yesterday saying he's thinking of retiring from music?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a bread batch. I think they put it out.
Was it? Okay, well, we'll look into that.
You never know. Never know. Give it a few years. Liam Payne. I haven't heard his name in a while.
No, nor have
Any
we
chance
really.
of him in the next few years boxing?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean,
Oh,
from
really? Okay.
discussion, so, no, of him boxing, not necessarily him boxing Deji or anybody, but
Yeah.
you know, obviously it's a while since he went on Impulsive, wasn't it? And said he'd fight KSI, he'd fight all these guys. I do know through different contacts, Mams being one, other people who have reached out from promotions, that he's just it's not his agenda right now.
Okay, that's interesting
So
then.
you know, it's a case of if when you reach out over every say 3 months to somebody like that, and his manager says, actually, yeah, we were talking about this and we were planning it, we were going to get in touch soon. Then you have the discussion. But at the moment, we're not even off that line, so it's not even newsworthy.
Okay, yeah. Well, anything with Liam Payne's name in is newsworthy, I'd say. Any kind of anything on Twitter, anything that go kind of goes viral. 'Cause I guess he's just so
Yeah.
famous. He's got that pull power. Just a few more points on the Kingpin
Mm.
situation. Do you think Kingpin will have like an annual? Do you think the tournament will be like Kingpin's niche almost? They have that once every year, and they don't put any other fights on. They put 3 events on the year, and it's a tournament. Is that going to be them?
I think let's see how this tournament goes, whether they build outside that or just stick to the tournament format. I do see it as being their niche, like you say.
Mm.
And I think, you know, Misfits and others will see it as that as well. And I think, oh, it's nice. Let them harvest these fighters, you know, in that sort of tournament environment, and they can work in conjunction, you know, not exclusively, or in some sort of way where, you know, the regular fights remain on Misfits and then the tournament pops up. Hopefully they'll keep a good relationship, or a civil relationship between the two, to be able to keep doing that like we have this time. Yeah, I don't know when exactly they do another tournament or what weight class. I guess it all depends on how the scene evolves, who's involved, how good those different weight classes or fighters are in and around those things to actually justify another tournament of this sort of level. So, you know, they have strong investors, and if there's a change in direction which makes sense for them as a business to do one-offs or to change from a tournament completely for whatever reason, they'll be flexible enough to do that. But I think as it stands right now, everyone likes the idea of the tournament. They love the idea of the tournament, and assuming it goes pretty well, I would imagine they'll want to do another one.
Okay. I'm just having a look at the Misfits card right now on my phone. How do you think that the Kingpin tournament, obviously it's on the 22nd. Oh, no, sorry, it's on the 21st, and the Misfits on the 20th. How do you think the numbers will compare for the Misfits in New Orleans and the Kingpin in London?
Interesting, that is. Yeah, I mean, obviously, you can't compare them like for like, because DAZN it's not a pay-per-view event, the Misfits one. So it'll be just existing subscribers and new subscribers. So you could say the total number of people who will watch that could be more, because there's already a really great install base, isn't there, from way back from when we did KSI Logan 2. Gib, Jake Paul, now obviously Misfits. Joshua fighting this weekend as well. Anything DAZN, that's an install base, which has a huge advantage. Unless it's then pay-per-view, you gotta pay pay-per-view anyway. So I don't think you can't compare numbers. And this was part of the argument, wasn't it, before, when Wade got himself in trouble the other week with talking about pay-per-view numbers of KSI Logan Paul 2. It wasn't a pay-per-view in America. It was a subscription service back then, and only in that territory. So then there were different pay-per-view numbers in different parts of the world, and people got very confused in terms of how successful it was. So you can't really compare like for like when it's like that. How will they compare? I don't know. I think it helps with a big broadcaster behind, and they've got good social presence, not just DAZN, but Misfits as well, and obviously KSI and everybody behind that can push it from a real install base. They've got they're a whole year ahead of where Kingpin are. You can't compare Kingpin socials, so you are relying heavily on a few of the fighters to really push it. But I think the vested interest, and it being in the UK, always helps time zone wise. You know, it covers UK and the US, so I expect the Kingpin numbers to be strong. In terms of how you compare the events, I'll be honest, and I think a lot of people would. I think the tournament lineup is really strong. I think, you know, there is always a slight difference between Misfits pay-per-view and non-Misfit non-pay-per-view cards in terms of the strength of the cards. But what you can guarantee is, even if you don't know all the people on that Misfits card, it's still going to be a great event. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great promotion. It's going to look great, and there'll be some stories and new fighters that come out of that with their heads held high, and new names in the scene. So both are going to be highly anticipated. Some might say a Gibb headline versus the Misfit, and the people on the tournament perhaps are a little bit more established and stronger. But how the numbers do, all those factors compare together, it's going to be really hard to compare because it's not a like for like, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I guess it balances out quite equally how the Kingpin got the stronger card, but it's pay-per-view. The Misfits have probably got the weaker card, but it's not pay-per-view. So it'd be quite interesting to see how
You said it, not me, but yeah, I think that's probably a fair assessment.
The reporter is meant to remain non-biased.
Yeah.
How many pay-per-view buys did KSI Logan Paul #2 do accurately?
Well, again, as I say, the US, the whole thing was funded by DAZN.
Yeah,
we did the deal and got the budget from DAZN to cover all production, big purses for the two fighters, everything. And they paid, therefore they led the production, the promotion. Everything was all DAZN money. Matchroom obviously facilitated it because they had the UK budget part of that DAZN, pot that was there at the time, hence needing Eddie Hearn. But what it meant is Matchroom then had the rights to sell the rights to the fight worldwide outside of DAZN to who they want. So, for example, in the UK, it was Sky Sports box office. In Australia and different Asian territories, it was Fight TV, and they were pay-per-views. There were a couple of obscure countries around the world which it was on a subscription service or on a network where they didn't have to pay per view, but essentially it was global. So, but we only really ever tracked. Obviously, we knew the Fight TV Australia numbers, and we knew the Sky Sports UK numbers, UK and Ireland, that is. And obviously we knew the DAZN number, but we didn't really ever get or care for what the numbers were the rest of the world, because there was no incentive there was no cut of that for KSI and Logan, if you like. That was for Matchroom to try and bring back some costs to them. So the true total pay-per-view number is actually, I don't know what it is, but what I do know is, the Sky Sports at 5 a.m. did over, I think it was 218,000. That was the official number. I couldn't remember the other week when I was asked. 218,000, but over 100 or 100, somewhere between 100 and 150,000 of those were actual full Sky packages bought. But I don't think people realize they could go on an app or another way to watch it rather than actually full on subscribe to Sky and then buy it. So there was good revenue there for sure. There was 120,000 just in Australia on the Fight TV, and then they've got their associated countries. There was Indian numbers, there's Scandinavia, there's all these different territories which we didn't ever really ask for or report. And then the DAZN numbers, there was new subscribers existing, somewhere between that. But I think worldwide it probably was somewhere near 1 million, something like that. But I can't be quoted. I know of 800,000. I can't tell you about the rest.
So it didn't do over 1 million buys then?
It may have done. I can't tell you if the rest of the world did too. It may well have done, yeah. But I still think it's when you're paying for a DAZN subscription back then, which was newish compared to it being more established now, and only being in a couple of territories, subscribing to that and people staying for at least a few months on that platform is way more valuable revenue-wise than one pay-per-view buy. How much would you say the DAZN subscription is worth? Is it worth 3 pay-per-views? 4? I don't know. Do you know what I mean? So you could. It's not quantifiable or compared to just a one-off pay-per-view platform which covers the world, which now DAZN can do.
So that brings me to our next point, which is quite perfect. So it's all not messy. You want to use the word messy because that sounds like it's unprofessional, but it was quite all over the place in terms of, not in like disorganized. It's very, very organized, but in terms of counting the number of pay-per-views, it wasn't all one platform. It's a lot of different platforms, so it made it quite difficult. However, KSI and Logan Paul 1 was the one done on one platform. That was the YouTube platform.
Yeah.
So what's the accurate number of pay-per-view buys that did?
That was 1.2 million. It was over 1.2 million. It was 1.1 million on YouTube, and then we had a backup service. What was it called? I forget what his name of it. There was a backup platform which was there just in case anything happened to YouTube or the stream went down, etc. And there was about 100,000 on that.
So it's 1.2 million. 1.2 million. And then you got. Don't
forget that was $10. That's $10.
That's a lot of money. And then
what I mean is that's a lot less than KSI Logan Paul 2, right?
Well, I think it was about 9. What was it? Is it 8? I remember I did buy it actually.
Yeah, in pounds it'd have been £8.
Yeah, I think it was a bit cheap. I don't think it was 10. I think it was cheaper than £10 actually, if I remember.
Oh, there was a small window we did. I remember like a few weeks before we had a quick early bird sale for like 24 hours or something, which you could have jumped on. was like £7 or something.
I think what maybe did that. It's always a last minute thing behind pay-per-views. No one buys unless it's
Exactly.
very,
Yeah,
very organized.
95% on the day. Yeah.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? What was one more thing? Oh yeah, streamers. They're probably a good 300, 400,000 people streaming it as well, I guess.
Oh, number one, we can go back and I don't want to get into trouble what I say about Twitch, but we had a really strong, because obviously we had to handle this ourselves back then. It was my responsibility on terms of the monetizing of those streams and protecting it and copyright music and everything, which because we didn't have it was just on YouTube, and they gave no support because they didn't really, to be honest, they didn't really care much for boxing. And obviously Logan had his troubles back then, if you remember, with the Japan stuff, and so they weren't promoting it themselves at all. YouTube, it was just a platform they did, and then after that fight they never did another pay-per-view. That's why we had to move it. But we had a company called Athletia, who are a really strong copy protection business. They've covered like illegal download protection for I think in the past for the Olympics and the World Cup and people like this. So they're really good at squashing things quickly on places like Facebook and YouTube and different platforms around the world. But what they weren't used to is this sort of new age of streaming on, and it was Twitch was the failure there. They weren't used to people streaming on Twitch, the Olympics or the World Cup so much. And Twitch themselves weren't ready for what was coming and hitting them that day. And they took it a little bit lightly. Won't get into some of the things they did or didn't do or how quickly they reacted or not. But I think from recollection, they took nearly 10,000 stream links down that night. So they really worked really fast and really well. It was just, Twitch has now got a stronger relationship with these places, and they're more reactive to get any streams taken down quick. But back then, it was what it was. So yeah, if I think it would have been double that, definitely.
Wow, so been about
could have been 2 mil easy.
2.4 million. Yeah, I would say double it.
Yeah.
If you're getting 10,000 streams down, and each of those streamers have got 1,000 people or 100 people on, or probably a lot more than 1,000.
It depends how quickly you take them down, how fast they grow. But yeah. Yeah, no, that was hugely successful. And I think what also helps is it was in the UK. Again, I think if you went to the arena, it was 99% KSI fans and Deji fans. Even when he went to America, it was, to be fair. But I think, the avid fan base here on that time zone, huge success. KSI Logan Paul, if that had been in the UK as well, obviously you'd have got way more Sky Sports buys than 218,000 at 5 a.m. You just would. And also, you can still get the same American buys anyway because it's daytime there.
So for KSI and Jake Paul, how will they be able to take down all these streams? What will be their method used? Or will they just be kind of fall victim to it? When that fight happens, that fight's going to be huge.
Depends which platform it's on,
I'm guessing. I guess it probably will be DAZN. So
Showtime or whoever they split it or co-pro it.
My guess is DAZN will offer the most money because they've got the biggest, one of the biggest bags, the billionaire clients.
Not necessarily. I mean, I think regardless, it's going to do a lot of revenue, and I think both guys should. Hopefully Jake wouldn't say, well, I need this figure and them not pay it. I've been through that before with Jake Paul, don't forget, with Gib. That was very important, that fight straight after KSI Logan, to keep people on the DAZN platform. That's why we did it like within a couple of months after that. Look, whether they I'm sure Misfits have a budget for their fights for their 5 years, etc. How they can get extra money for that one-off, I'm sure they can. Or whether it would just be a really good rev share deal, I don't know. Who knows?
Who was easier to work with, Logan Paul or Jake Paul?
I'd say Logan, just because I did everything on that deal and it was on a plate for them. Not going to say about lawyers and it being slow and reactive their side, and they were difficult to get initial deals over the lines and things like that. But once it came to the actual, once it was done and dusted and signed, they were perfectly professional. To be fair, Jake was once he'd signed, but he ruffles a few extra feathers and may overvalue himself a little bit more. That's all.
Do you think that Jake Paul and KSI happens in December this year in Cardiff, or do you think it gets pushed forward?
Forward or back?
Oh, sorry, into 2024.
No idea. I'd like to think that they can make that happen. I think JJ, it's all lined up, isn't it? Fournier, Jake Paul, if not another one in between, but then Jake Paul. But I think it now comes down to Jake Paul. he until he lost against Tommy Fury, there's nothing more he wanted more in the world than to fight KSI. But I think now, I don't know. I think he may be having a few doubts. I think, you know, he's going to, do I reestablish myself against another MMA or ex-boxer to show that, you know, the Tommy Fury thing was a fluke, or, you know, it was a one-off. Does he do the Tommy rematch? Does he need to? I think it goes the same way, to be fair. I think if anything, Tommy wins easier, but obviously Jake's always got a puncher's chance. But or does he say what he's been saying and he thinks KSI is an easy fight? Really, if that's the case, if he thinks KSI is an easy fight, then really he should just fight JJ next and get back on track, shouldn't he?
We'll see. I guess you got the argument that KSI, he never ducked Jake Paul, but he was going to say, we'll put the fight at the end of the year. We can build this up. You've had your experience in the fight. You've had about 3 fights since I've been out. Let me have my 3 fights. Now kind of KSI is now ready to fight him. But now Jake Paul wants to fight on his terms. You got to kind of, I guess you got to see both sides of the argument. You're going to weigh it up. But Jake's just taking a loss. Do you really want to take one of the biggest fights of your boxing career going off a loss? Or would you much rather fight Tommy Fury again? And that's a big risk. Or would you much rather?
But it's a big risk if he genuinely thinks he's definitely going to beat Tommy Fury. Why not? But I don't think he can possibly.
Or do you fight an MMA? Or do you fight an MMA fighter, or like, just fight Nate Diaz?
Yeah.
Or I'm trying to know in my head. I think the Nate Diaz one is the next one for him if he doesn't fight Tommy Fury again.
Maybe
you fight Nate Diaz, get the momentum back, and then fight KSI, which I think is better for both of them because it builds more
possibly.
hype. Yeah.
As long as JJ beats Fournier, or at least does very well and comes out of it looking good, because he hasn't had enough opportunity to show his skills properly yet, has he?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. It's it could go one of a few ways, couldn't it? We all think, oh, it's an easy plot towards December Cardiff, and it may well still happen like that. But there's too many moving parts between these two, isn't there? So who knows?
There's always spanners being thrown in the works. So
yeah.
Would you be involved in all the negotiations with KSI and Jake, or is that nothing to do whatsoever?
No, not now. No, I mean, is
that kind of relief for you in a way?
Well, yeah, I mean, I handed over to Mams, you know, when COVID hit, and obviously JJ wasn't boxing, and don't forget back then Logan Paul was the end of it, the pinnacle, because Jake had ducked him, and he was going to be the Jake Paul then to Logan Paul finish, right? That was going to be the trajectory. Then suddenly COVID hits anyway. Jake comes back in the scene, fights Gibb, then goes off and does his own thing, and in America things open up a bit easier so he can do events, and then things change, don't they? But at that point, the second he'd beaten Logan on the rematch, there was no real consideration of Jake Paul because Jake had already, you know, ducked him in the first place. And so, yeah, at that point, COVID happened. JJ was full music mode in the studio. Obviously, there's Mams, you know, introduced and taking the mantle off from launching the album on the ring walks and everything we'd done up to that point. And then, so yeah, past that. So what I'll always be there to help JJ and Mams as they need, and they know that. I did the Amazon documentary to support the music, you know, and help build that best I can. That's done now, so no, I have no ties in terms of management with JJ at all. I speak to Mams all the time, say, look, if you ever need help, I know Nikisa pretty well. You know, I'd be happy to help them if they need to, but you'd hope they can just get it sorted between them. But if they'd like a helping hand or they ring, I'm more than happy to help because I'll always be JJ's guy. You know, we worked together for 10 years and I only ever want to see the best for him. That's why I did help with the Amazon stuff.
Sounds pretty good then. It must be nice kind of.
But you're right though. 10 years was a lot.
Yeah.
I am relieved.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying now you'll see them negotiate and it'll take real long winded out. Nikisa will probably get a lot of stick, which is not deserved at all. He's a very good guy. Mams will probably get a lot of stick, which is undeserved because he's a good guy as well. It'll be that fight will be a nightmare to make, I think. So I guess it's quite nice on your side. You kind of put your feet up, relax, and be like, right, now you know how it feels to make a big fight.
Maybe, yeah. I can just focus on the family a little bit more and just the guys I'm working on in boxing. While my team at OP are helping with the other influences and different things. Yeah, it's quite a nice position right now. I feel quite flexible. I feel like a little bit more space there just to do the projects and work on the things I want to do. So it is good. But if somebody said, "Hey, we're struggling with this. We need a mediator. Can you help us?" I'm going to help, you know. But they don't need me right now.
Okay, Liam, it's always good to talk to you. We got some few good little stories there that I think a few people will expand on, but I do appreciate you coming on. I'll see you. When I'll see you next. I'll see you in April. Actually, not long. Actually, less than about 20 days to go.
Are you going to go to both? Are you going to fly into Kingpin on the 22nd?
I don't think you physically can actually do it in terms of time difference. If they'd done it
So you're
like
just going to do
before,
UK for that one?
I would have done the Florida one. Wait, well, not the Florida one, sorry. I would have done
New
the New
Orleans?
Orleans show if it was 2 days before. It's only
Yeah.
one day before, so you can't make it. So
Okay. Yeah, in case you lose a day. Yeah. Fair.
yeah, we'll do the Kingpin. But Liam, I do appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
Cheers, Fred. Take care, mate.